Angie Dickinson's life and career were far richer and more complex than the glamorous image most people remember. Born Angeline Brown on September 30th, 1931, in Cullum, North Dakota, she was raised in a disciplined German-American household that valued resilience, education, and integrity. A move to Burbank, California, during her childhood quietly positioned her near Hollywood, though acting was never her original plan. She studied business, worked office jobs, and imagined a practical future before chance and opportunity shifted her direction. Beauty pageants led to modeling, modeling led to television, and television opened the doors to film. From the start, Dickinson carried herself with intelligence and self-respect, refusing to be dismissed as just another pretty face. That inner strength would define both her success and her boundaries, especially in an industry dominated by powerful men who did not always treat women as equals. Breaking through. Hollywood's golden age. Dickinson's breakout role in Rio Bravo in 1959 placed her among Hollywood's elite almost overnight. Acting opposite John Wayne, Dean Martin, and Ricky Nelson, she proved she could command attention without losing warmth or authenticity. Throughout the 1960s, she deliberately chose roles that challenged stereotypes, portraying women who were confident, complicated, and unapologetically human. Films like Ocean's 11, The Killers, and Point Blank showcased her range and magnetism. She refused to be boxed into ornamental roles and quietly pushed back against typecasting. This determination eventually led her to television history with Policewoman, where she became one of the first female leads in a police drama. The role cemented her legacy and earned critical acclaim. Yet behind the accolades, Dickinson was also navigating difficult personalities, learning which collaborations inspired her and which left lasting disappointments. A woman who expected respect. Angie Dickinson was widely admired for her professionalism, but she was equally known for her unwillingness to tolerate disrespect. She believed talent did not excuse poor behavior, a stance that occasionally placed her at odds with influential figures. Unlike many actresses of her era, she did not quietly accept condescension or emotional volatility as the price of success. Instead, she observed, remembered, and set boundaries. Over time, she shared that certain encounters stayed with her not because of drama, but because of how they reflected deeper issues within Hollywood's power structure. Her reflections were not about revenge or scandal, but about honesty. Dickinson understood that speaking openly, even gently, could help reveal uncomfortable truths. The men she later described as particularly difficult were not villains in her story, but reminders that fame and talent do not always come paired with kindness or emotional maturity. Frank Sinatra, a charisma with shadows. Frank Sinatra was one of the most complex figures Angie Dickinson encountered. Their friendship was well known, marked by admiration, chemistry, and shared social circles. Dickinson respected Sinatra's artistry and magnetism, yet she later acknowledged that his temperament could shift unpredictably. In private moments, she experienced a colder side of his personality, one marked by sharp words and emotional distance. These moments did not erase her respect for his talent, but they changed how she viewed him as a person. She felt his warmth could vanish when he felt challenged or insecure, leaving others caught off guard. Dickinson valued consistency and emotional accountability, traits she sometimes felt were missing in their interactions. Rather than condemning him outright, she framed her memories as complicated and human, shaped by both admiration and disappointment that lingered long after their closeness faded. John Wayne, respect lost. Behind authority. Working with John Wayne on Rio Bravo was professionally significant for Dickinson, but personally competent. While she appreciated the opportunity and recognized his influence, she later reflected that Wayne's demeanor toward her felt dismissive. She sensed an underlying condescension in how he spoke to her, as though her role was secondary despite her performance. Dickinson believed in collaboration and mutual respect, and she struggled with what she perceived as an outdated attitude toward women in film. Wayne's authoritative presence, while powerful on screen, did not translate into a supportive working relationship for her. She rarely spoke harshly about him, but privately acknowledged her disappointment. The experience reinforced her understanding that success does not guarantee generosity. For Dickinson, respect mattered more than hierarchy, and when it was absent, the impact stayed with her long after filming ended. Jack Webb. Control over collaboration. Jack Webb played a pivotal role in Dickinson's television success, casting her in Policewoman, yet their professional relationship was strained. Webb was known for precision and control, qualities that created a rigid environment behind the scenes. Dickinson later shared that she felt creatively restricted, treated more like a component than a collaborator. Although the role brought her fame and recognition, the process was emotionally taxing. She valued open dialogue and artistic exchange, while Webb favored strict adherence to his vision. Even during moments of personal closeness, his detached demeanor did not soften. Dickinson respected his discipline, but struggled with his lack of empathy. The experience taught her that opportunity can come at a personal cost. Despite the show's success, Webb remained one of the figures she associated with emotional distance rather than shared creative respect. Lee Marvin. Sharp words and lasting impressions. Angie Dickinson's interactions with Lee Marvin left her feeling unsettled rather than inspired. Known for his intense presence, Marvin carried a reputation that extended beyond his performances. Dickinson later described social encounters where his humor felt cutting rather than playful. She recalled moments where his remarks seemed designed to belittle, leaving little room for grace. Though Marvin was celebrated for his talent, Dickinson believed charisma should never excuse unkindness. One public comment in a social setting reportedly embarrassed her, and while it was dismissed as humor, the effect was lasting. She valued generosity of spirit and found his approach unnecessarily harsh. Rather than fueling conflict, she simply distanced herself. In her reflections, Marvin represented how wit, when stripped of empathy, can become a tool that wounds rather than entertains. Burt Reynolds. Charm with boundaries. Crossed. Burt Reynolds initially struck Dickinson as charismatic and engaged, but over time her perception shifted. She later felt his playful confidence sometimes crossed into dismissiveness. On set and socially, she sensed an imbalance where his attention centered on himself rather than the shared work. Dickinson believed charm should uplift, not overshadow others. She also felt uncomfortable with behavior she perceived as overly familiar, preferring clear boundaries and mutual respect. While Reynolds was widely adored, Dickinson trusted her instincts and chose distance over discomfort. She did not question his popularity, but she questioned his sensitivity. Her reflections were less about accusation and more about personal truth. For her, professionalism meant listening, collaborating, and respecting limits. When those qualities were missing, admiration naturally faded, regardless of public image. Legacy beyond conflict. Despite these difficult encounters, Angie Dickinson's legacy is defined far more by resilience than resentment. She built a career spanning decades, navigated personal tragedy with dignity, and remained selective about the stories she told. Her honesty about difficult personalities was never sensational. It was reflective. She understood that survival in Hollywood required both talent and boundaries. Rather than allowing negative experiences to harden her, she used them to clarify her values. Dickinson continued to work, evolve, and command respect on her own terms. The men she remembered for their rudeness did not define her journey. They merely highlighted her strength. In the end, Angie Dickinson stands as a reminder that grace does not mean silence, and strength does not require cruelty. Her story is one of endurance, self-worth, and quiet integrity in an often unforgiving industry.